Postponed, 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 postponed. That one went ahead. Postponed, 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 postponed. Yeah, postponed. Yes, hello and welcome to this week's Women's Football Chat. This is the show that is dedicated to the FAWNL. My name is Chris Gadsby. I'm here every Thursday at 6 p.m. bringing you the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England. And well, it's absolutely chucking it down now, and that has been made basically the story of the last 7 days, and waterlogged pitches pretty much across the board. Well over half of the games postponed over the last 7 days, so there won't be a huge amount to go through in terms of results and changes to the league tables, but we do have bits of news to go through as well, which should make the show about normal length. What we're going to do then is we're going to start though with the news, and the news is that in January the Manager of the Month awards, we announced it, has been coming back. The league announced it. We looked at that on the show last week, 2 weeks ago, but now the winners have come out. So Tier 4 Manager of the Month, Michael Mulhern of Middlesbrough, who got it in Tier 4. Middlesbrough, of course, currently top of the Division 1 North. They started January with a 2-0 win against Hull City. Then they beat Leeds United as well, and then came from behind to beat Stockport County. And then Manager of the Month in Tier 3 goes to Nottingham Forest's Carly Davis. Forest had a 3 wins from 3 in January, also beating Newcastle and Burnley in those two kind of title challenging teams in that. So congratulations to both of those. You may also have seen that as part of the new Manager of the Month kind of process here. So the way it works is that the clubs can nominate their manager for it, and then a shortlist is chosen from an expert panel with representatives from She Kicks magazine, Impetus 71 and the Women's Football Chat. Yes, if you haven't already seen, I have taken up the role as part of the panel that helps shortlist the Manager of the Month awards each month. As I said, along with representatives from She Kicks and from Impetus 71. So we kind of each individually, we have a look at the results from the past month, and just kind of get together and see who is on each of our shortlists. Last month, the shortlists pretty much matched up, and then you combine that with the club nominations, and we get the shortlist, which then goes obviously over to the public vote, and then the results from the public vote is combined with the panel vote. Now, the panel vote, while we all come together to create the shortlist, we then vote for our Manager of the Months in private. So I don't know who got voted first, second, third, fourth for the She Kicks representative, the Impetus 71 representatives, or the public vote for that matter. So I don't know exactly how each of the 4 managers ranked. All we do know is who won the Manager of the Month award. So after 120 episodes of this show, got myself a little bit of an in with the league, which is very exciting. And February, the weather has put pay to a lot of the results in February. So Manager of the Month award will be meeting soon to come up with a shortlist for February. But that's the Manager of the Month award kind of notifications to tell you about there, as my computer's decided that it wants to. I haven't used it enough, so it's cut itself off. There we go. So yeah, that's the That's the Manager of the Month Award news. So now we're going to go to news that came out earlier today from York City. And this is that they have a new boss. If I just bring this up as well. So we are delighted to announce the appointment of Chris Holloway as the club's first team manager. The 49-year-old joins the Minster Bells, having had spells at Sporting Albion Ladies, Coventry City Ladies and West Bromwich Albion Ladies. So there's a new there boss at York City. York City, of course, needing to have a strong end to the season. We'll have a look at that in a few moments' time. But that is really the two real bits of news from the world of the FAWNL over the past 7 days or so. So without further ado then, let's go into, we've got results to look at, fixtures to look at, and of course it is Cup semi-final week. So we'll have a look ahead to those as well. Brief apology if the show isn't quite as articulate as perhaps it normally is. I was working late last night and got home at nearly 1 a.m. So I'm a little bit kind of struggling ever so slightly, but we should, once we get into it, kick off relatively okay. So Northern Premier Division, as you can see, there should have been 5 games. There's only been 2. On Sunday, obviously some of these were Sunday, some of these should have been last night. Sorry, not last night, Tuesday night or Wednesday night. So Liverpool Feds 1, Nottingham Forest 1. Results here for Bethany Donoghue in the 18th minute and Sophie Domingo in the 57th minute. So 1 in the first half for Feds, 1 in the second half for Nottingham Forest. Thinking this, another thing that I discovered, and only last week did I discover this. I don't know how long it's been in there for, but I know it wasn't at the start of the season. I use an app on my phone called Flash Scores, which is great for, it gives you updates on all the football, and I use it for ice hockey a lot, but there's loads of sports on there. And Tier 3 has started giving you goal notifications on there as well. So if you're a fan of a Tier 3 club and you can't get to their game and you can't just sit on social media refreshing, then you can set it to give you goal notifications on your phone there. Which is great. Right, and then Newcastle 2, Derby County 1. Goals in this one, Bethany Lumsden in the 7th minute, Paige Gale in the 27th minute for Newcastle, Eleanor Ashton getting one back for Derby in the second half, but they weren't able to get the draw. What that means for the Northern Premier Division table, nobody has moved. It's worth pointing out that nobody has moved, but Newcastle now are 9 points clear of Forest in second. Yes, Forest have a game in hand, but Newcastle 9 clear with 7 games to go. Burnley have 3 games in hand over Newcastle, but even if they win all of those, then they go only 5 points behind. Liverpool Fed stay in 4th, Derby 5th. Obviously, as I said, the rest of the league is all the same. Huddersfield Town still have 10 games to play in this season. They're 7 points away from safety. AFC 5 now 8 games to go and 10 points away from safety. So yeah, not a great deal to talk about in the Northern Premier Division. In the Southern Premier Division then, we've got Cardiff City 2, Cheltenham Town 1. Yet another victory for Cardiff City. Great February for them. And they win, as I said, by 2 goals to 1. Tiana Tisar in the 8th minute had put Cardiff in front. Cheltenham equalised through Una Liu in the 40th minute. So they go in at the break level. And then Ruby Scarhill in the 70th minute. 20 minutes from time put Cardiff back in front. And they held on to win by 2 goals to 1. Obviously, it was, as I said, very kind of rained off this weekend. Some teams were also in County Cup as well last Sunday, which is why there were fewer fixtures anyway. and then even more got rained off. Portsmouth 7, Chatham Town 0. Goals for Portsmouth: Lita Rutherford in the 14th minute, Ava Robotham in the 20th and the 21st, Sophie Quirk in the 44th and the 54th, and then Emma Jones in 45 plus 4, so 5-0 at half time. Game completely done. Tierney Scott in the 85th minute, rounding off the goal scoring for Portsmouth. Then we go into midweek. Billericay 5, Chatham Town 1. So because this game was only last night, the whole detail isn't on full time yet as I'm recording this, which means that I've had to go on to Twitter to find all of the results and the goal scorers for the times. So forgive me if off the top of my head I can't remember all of the scorers. But Billericay Town beating Chatham Town by 5-1. Maddie Biggs with a hat-trick there, 23, 49, 56th minute. Horton in 25th and Seeley in the 52nd minute. And that was after Chatham had taken the lead in the 3rd minute of the game through Turner. Ipswich Town against #United postponed. MK Dons beating London Bees by 2-0. Rush in the 31st minute and Fatuga Doda in the 83rd minute with the goals for Milton Keynes Dons. And Rugby Borough 2-0 winners away at Oxford United. Lily Greenslade and Katie Morris with the goals for Rugby. Well, that means in the Southern Premier Division table, there's movement in the middle, but towards the top it's all still the same. So Portsmouth are now level on games played with #United. They did have that game in hand. They played it at the weekend. #United then should have played this week, didn't. So with 7 games to go, and in fact the top 5 have all got 7 games to go, then Portsmouth are 6 clear of #United, but that might as well be 7 points clear. Because of the vastly better goal difference, 56 to #16. So it might as well be 7 points. So then you look at the games that have got to come and you think, well, there's 7 games to go for # to win the league. Portsmouth need to drop points on 3 of those 7 games, and 2 of those really need to be losses. So it's becoming more and more difficult for # to go straight up from 4 to 2, you would think. Portsmouth, they've got some difficult fixtures. They've got Ipswich and Rugby still to play, but they are both at home. And you feel that if # are going to catch Portsmouth, they need to do it relatively quickly, because the last 3 games for Portsmouth are Plymouth, Cheltenham and London Bees, who are 3 of the bottom 4 at the moment. And Portsmouth, yes, Cardiff are on a really good run at the moment, but their next league game is against Cardiff. So they've got a lot of teams in the bottom half of the table. So Portsmouth look as though they may well be getting up into the Championship. In my personal view, and this goes for the Northern Premier Division as well, I believe that almost those leagues are done, in the sense that I think Newcastle will get promoted, I think Portsmouth will get promoted. I do think Fylde and Huddersfield will probably go down in the Northern Premier Division. I'm almost certain at this point that Chatham Town and London Bees will go down out of the Southern Premier Division. So, yes, of course, it's football, anything can happen, but I do kind of feel as though the Northern and Southern Premier Divisions are done now in terms of the promotion and the relegation. I don't know how much will be, down, and this is across all 6 divisions, how much will come down to the final day. Right, let's move through into Tier 4 then. Tier 4 in the Division 1 Midlands. Sheffield against Sporting Cowser, Solihull Moors against Leek Town, both postponed. Sporting Cowser beat Boldmere St Michael's on Tuesday night by 3-0. Isabel Austin Short in the 61st minute, Olivia Stubbs in the 77th, and Layla Kennelly in the 90 plus 8th minute, giving Sporting Cowser what feels like a convincing win in the end. And Sutton Coldfield Town drawing with Leafield Athletic by 2-2. So an own goal in the 47th minute had put Sutton Coldfield Town in front. Leafield Athletic through Alicia Miller get one back in the 51st minute. Stephanie Kingston then puts Sutton Coldfield Town back in front again just before the hour mark, and then Sienna McCann Lloyd in the 91st minute levels up for Leafield Athletic. What it means for the table is that Sporting Cowser are now up to third, just one place behind Boldmere St Michael's. And again, still very much in the title fight. They have a game in hand over Loughborough. If they were to win that game in hand, comes down now to 2 points, separating the top three. Loughborough, though, do also have a game in hand over Boldmere St Michael's. And don't discount Peterborough. They are 6 points back, yes, but they also have a game in hand. And with 9 games to go in the Division 1 Midlands, particularly towards the top, it could still get very interesting. Peterborough have got to still play Loughborough Lightning. Boldmere St Michael's, they have 7 games to go, and they, to be fair, don't have any of those other big teams left to play. Sporting Cowser, they have got to face, again, although they've got Peterborough coming up this weekend, but other than that, that's kind of it for the big four. Northampton is kind of partly putting themselves, making some sort of influence on the top because they've got to play pretty much all of these teams. Peterborough, they've got Sporting Cowser and Loughborough Lightning as well. So Peterborough have got the trickiest of the run-ins. For a lot of these teams, it's going to be making sure that they navigate those potential banana skins properly and then seeing what happens come the end of the season. But I think Division 1 Midlands is going to be very tight at the top and at the bottom. Leafield Athletics' point has brought them now 2 points away from safety, although they have played a game more than Notts County. As I said, it's so early to call anything in Division 1 Midlands because they've been affected more Tier 4, as you kind of would expect, than Tier 3 with the weather, because the pitches are not quite as a high quality. But Sheffield, they've got 9 games to play. Notts County have got 8. Leek have got 9 as well. And when then you compare it to teams in Tier 3, and they've got like 6 to play. So Tier 3 will slow down quite a bit. The focus will go more onto Tier 4 because the last thing the league want to do. The league could, if they wanted, and I can look at the board now and go, you've got a team with 6 games to play, and you could, if you really wanted to, have their season over at the start of April. But of course you don't want to do that. I mean, even as it stands at the moment, say Chatham Town, by the end of March, they're only going to have 2 games to play, and one of those is going to be on the 5th of May, at the last game of the season. So it does really slow down. If you haven't had all of these postponements and you go out of the cup early on, you really do end up slowing down your fixture list, because of course this isn't the men's game. We can't have tons of midweek fixtures rearranged at short notice and a really heavy fixture list, because everybody else is, all the players have got work and everything like that. So the Tier 3 I think will in particular slow down. I mean, even in some cases in Tier 4, Sutton Coldfield Town have played 16. They've got 6 games to play, and you've got getting on for 10 weeks to play the 6 games in. So it's going to be very sporadic for some of these teams. But that is Division 1 Midlands. Division 1 North then, pretty, I don't want to say unentertaining week in Division 1 North, but 2 draws and just 1 win. And all the draws came for the teams towards the top. So no one has really kind of gained or lost anything. Barnsley won, Stockport County won. Both of these goals coming really early, actually, in this game. Both in the first half, both in the first 15 minutes. Emma Lysons in the 7th minute had put Stockport in front. Then Rosie Axton in the 12th minute levelled for Barnsley, and that was all of the scoring. They finish 1-1. That was on Tuesday. Nothing in the Division 1 North at the weekend. And then last night, Chester Street Town 0, Norton Stockton Ancients 2. Sophie Hodgson in the 24th minute, Bianca Owens in the 93rd with the 3 points for Norton. And a 0-0 draw between Durham Sestra and Middlesbrough, 2 teams up towards the top. So in the Northern Premier Division, I told you I'm in Division 1 North table. Durham Sestra up a place into 3rd. They're now 4 points away from the top of the table, and with a game in hand over Middlesbrough, who only have 6 games left to play. Hull, yes, they are down a place, but they have 4 games in hand over Middlesbrough and are only 5 points behind them. They have 2 games in hand over Barnsley and are only 2 points behind them. And they have 3 games in hand over Durham Sestra and they're only 1 point behind them. So Hull City, very much, yes, they're down in 4th, but very much still in the driving seat. They could win their games in hand and end up several points clear at the top. The big thing for Hull is that with 10 games still to play, they have to play pretty much everybody else. They've got to host Stockport County, they've got to travel to Barnsley, they've got to host Durham. So there is still a lot to be said towards the top of Division 1 North. You look at Middlesbrough, who have only got 6 games left to play. Doncaster Rovers Bells, they're in 7th. Chester Street Town at the towards the bottom. Chorley towards the bottom. FC United and Manchester at the bottom. Norton and Stockton Ancients in 8th. And York City in 10th. I mean, if we look at that, actually, then Middlesbrough's final 6 games of the season are against the bottom 6. So you would expect Middlesbrough to be victorious in those games. Doncaster Rovers Bells are 7th, Norton Stockton Ancients 8th, Chorley are 9th, York City are 10th, Chester Street Town are 11th, and FC United and Manchester are 12th. Middlesbrough only have to play teams in the bottom half for the remainder of the season. If they were to get 18 points from that, that would put them on 51. So 52 is the target for the likes of Hull City. And they would need, 24 points in order to get that. So that's 8 wins from their 10 games in order to get that total and eclipse anything that Middlesbrough could do. So it's still, I mean, don't get me wrong, you still end up, having to win 80% of your games in the run-in. And, Hull, knowing that, will have more pressure on all of their games. So just because they are in the position where they can go a few points clear at the top doesn't mean they're necessarily going to. Points on the board are certainly better than games in hand. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch over the next few weeks. Hull will be playing far more regularly than everybody else. Down towards the bottom, similar situation. York City still 10 games left to play. The North has been affected quite a bit with the weather. Quite a few teams there still with 10 to play. So still plenty to look at in Division 1 North. Division 1 South East, 2 games to look at here. AFC Sudbury sharing a 3-3 draw with Chesham United. Now, this game was supposed to be played at Chesham and they swapped it in order to get the game on. So goals in this one. Sophie Jeffrey for AFC Sudbury in the 9th and the 29th minute. So Sudbury went 1-0 up and then Danielle Putterfoot for Chesham United equalised 1-1. Jeffrey again 2-1 to AFC Sudbury. Chesham United then 2 for Gemma Fraser relatively quickly, 62 and 72, meant that Chesham United were then 3-2 up on the road, but Imogen Fisher pulling one back and it's 3-3 it finished. Ashford Town Wimbledon postponed. Cambridge United last night beating AFC Sudbury by 2-1. So Sudbury playing 2 games this week. Gillis in the 35th minute and Simmons in the 57th minute. Simmons' game-winning goal cancelling out Lamb's goal for Sudbury 3 minutes earlier. Table in Division 1 South East then. The only movement is Cambridge United going 1 higher than Ashford. Not a huge amount to talk about really. AFC Sudbury with that draw with Chesham, it moves both of them a point further clear of the relegation zone, but Sudbury in a similar situation. They've only got 6 left to play. The 2 teams trying to catch them are within 1 win of catching them and have games in hand as well. Cambridge City, a draw will bring them level with AFC Sudbury, but the goal difference will keep them behind them. And pretty much, let's say Cambridge United with their win going up to 5th. That's it really. That's all that happened in Division 1 South East. But Division 1 South East, that at least had something that happened. Division 1 South West, postponed. Nothing happened in Division 1 South West, so the Division 1 South West table remains exactly the same. And even the game between Southampton Women's and AFC Bournemouth tonight has already been postponed. So yeah, nothing's happened in Division 1 South West. It's exactly the same as last week. So see last week's show for more details. So that covers the results. Let's now have a look at the fixtures, and there's not a huge amount in that either. Northern Premier Division, again, this is kind of, what's the best way of describing this? It feels like this was a spare week, and it's given the opportunity then, which the league has done very well here, I must say, to give teams who have had games postponed earlier on in the season this spare week where, if you haven't got a league game, great, you can arrange a friendly or you can do whatever, but it gives an opportunity to slot these league games in so we don't end up having to play Sunday, Tuesday, Sunday, Tuesday, Sunday, Tuesday over and over again to get the games in towards the end of the season. So, one game supposedly tonight in the Northern Premier Division, Huddersfield Town against Halifax, 11th against 8th. Of course, these two met in the Cup quarter-final. Halifax were victorious in that, and they meet again tonight. AFC Fylde against Wolverhampton Wanderers. This is on Sunday. So Fylde at the bottom of the table. Wolves in 6th. This is one of Wolves' games in hand. Wolves still only played 11. So they've got an awful lot of fixtures to fit in. But they can go above Derby County with a win. And Stoke City against Burnley. 7th against 3rd. This is one of Burnley's games in hand over the top two. But as I've said, I kind of don't see where Newcastle are going to slip up enough for either Forest or Burnley to catch them. Southern Premier Division, one game. Ipswich against Rugby Borough. Ipswich in 6th, Rugby Borough in 3rd. It's a must-win game for Rugby. If they don't win it, then it's definitely a 2-horse race. It's kind of a 2.5-horse race now, as they are 9 points behind Portsmouth and with an inferior goal difference. So they must win this game and they must beat Portsmouth to drag themselves into a discussion come the middle of April. But that's just the one game in the Southern Premier Division. In Division 1 Midlands, one game tonight, Sheffield against Leek Town, then Sheffield play Northampton Town at the weekend. Sporting Council against Peterborough United, that's the big one towards the top, 3rd against 4th. And Solihull Moors then play Leek Town at the weekend as well, 7th against 9th. So interesting game towards the bottom, Sheffield against Leek Town. Sheffield in 11th, Leek Town in 9th. Opportunity for Sheffield. This is their game in hand over Notts County to get themselves out of the relegation zone. If it doesn't go their way this week, then Sheffield will have played one game more than Notts County and still be behind them. So it could be a very pivotal week for Sheffield. So they've got a game against Leek Town, which is definitely a winnable game. Northampton in 5th is going to be far more difficult for them. And then, as I said, that big game towards the top, Sporting Council against Peterborough United. Loughborough and Boldmere St Michael's would love a draw between these two, but a win for either of them would firmly put them back in the conversation. Division 1 North, 4 games then. Chester Street Town against Doncaster Rovers Bells. Hull City against Stockport County. Norton Stockton Ancients against Leeds United. And York City take on Chorley. So Chester Street Town in 11th. Doncaster Rovers Bells in 7th. Hull City, they are 4th. Stockport County are 5th. Again, one of Hull's games in hand. They will have many of them. And a good opportunity for them to close that gap to the top. Norton Stockton Ancients in 8th, Leeds United in 6th. Relatively big gap between both of those sides, but neither in any immediate danger. And York City against Chorley, 10th against 9th, probably the biggest game of the weekend in Division 1 North. A win for Chorley would put them 8 points clear, providing that Chester Street Town don't get anything from the game against Doncaster, of course. 8 points clear with 8 games to go for Chester Street. And a win for York would move them 4 points clear, and having that buffer of being able to lose a game but still not being dragged into it will certainly be something that York City want to achieve. Division 1 South East, just 2 games. Ashford Town against Chesham United. Ashford Town then are in 6th, Chesham United down in 9th. Anything for Chesham United, a win for Chesham United to put them 10 points clear, and then they're definitely safe. I still maintain they're safe now anyway. That's my view. And Haywards Heath Town against Norwich City. Haywards Heath Town are down in 12th, Norwich City are in 2nd. So it's going to be very difficult for Haywards Heath Town. Norwich City, of course, they are 6 points behind Wimbledon with 2 games in hand. This is one of the games in hand, but their goal difference is 18 less. So even if they pull level on points, they still need Wimbledon to drop points in their final 7 games of the season. What Norwich can do, though, is face Wimbledon at the end of March, beat them, and that will do it for Norwich if they can pull level before then. So some really important games coming up throughout the end of the season in Division 1 South East. Division 1 South West, after so many postponements last weekend, 5 games to look at in the next 7 days. Torquay United against Exeter City tonight, 10th against 1st. Keynsham Town against AFC Bournemouth at the weekend, 6th against 2nd. Moneyfields then take on Torquay, that's 5th against 10th. Southampton Women's against Bridgewater United, 11th against 7th. And Swindon Town against Portishead Town is 3rd against 8th. It's an interesting one in South West. Torquay, 2 games for them this week, providing, of course, it doesn't get rained off. And they're facing Exeter, who are probably going to beat them because they're beating everybody apart from Bournemouth. And Moneyfields, who are a very strong side in Division 1 South West. It's very tight in that mid-pack chasing the top 2. 3rd to 6th are separated by just 3 points. And we often see quite a bit of movement between all those teams. So, an interesting week for Torquay. If they can get anything from those games, I think it's unlikely, but if they can get anything from those games, it will certainly help them in their quest. Southampton Women's against Bridgewater United. Southampton Women's really needing points desperately. They're 2 away from safety at the moment, and they've only just reached the halfway point of their season as well. Swindon Town against Portishead Town, 3rd against 8th, as I've said. Swindon kind of best of the rest at the minute, aren't they? Behind Exeter and Bournemouth, who have been perfect apart from when they played each other and they drew. So that's the league fixtures for this weekend. One more thing to look at: Cup and Plate semi-finals. Halifax Town against #United. Newcastle United against Portsmouth is going to be a great semi-final. The 2 teams at the top of Tier 3. And then in the Plate, Cambridge United take on Barnsley and Exeter City face Derby County. It'll be good for Exeter City to see how they match up against kind of a mid-table Tier 3 side. Because when they faced Billericay in the previous round or the round before, Billericay obviously flirting with a relegation zone at the time in Tier 3. So now this is a firm mid-table Tier 3 sides for Exeter to pit themselves up against, and a long trip down for Derby. So we'll see how they go over the course of the week, and hopefully at least these 4 games get on. Newcastle United worth pointing out at St James's Park, so that game should definitely go ahead with all of the ground staff being able to work on a Premier League pitch. So we'll see who then ends up in the final, and hopefully when the final comes around, it's a better day than when I went to Burton Albion last week and it was freezing cold, although at least Forest did win in extra time, which made the Radio Nottingham commentary particularly good. So there you go, the Cup and Plate semi-finals. Which will do it for this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat. As I said, slightly shorter. It's worth noting as well, no one actually has got promoted yet, but in Tier 5, some of the teams are getting relatively close to getting their promotions into the FAWNL. Lincoln United, they are currently 7 points clear and have 3 games in hand on the team in second in the East Midlands Regional Women's Football League. In the West Midlands, it looks as though it may well be Worcester City, who with 7 games to go are 9 points clear of Burton Albion in second. We'll just quickly run through all of these. Some of them are, as I said, very close. Some are absolutely nowhere near. In the North East Regional, it's far too tight. The top 6 are separated by just 6 points, and they've got like 9 games to go. So it'll be a while until we see that. In the North West, so would be going into Division 1 North, Cheadle Town Stingers. They are 9 points clear and the teams trying to catch them, Blackburn Community and Tranmere Rovers, only have 4 games left to go. So they can't get promoted technically this weekend, but they can get very, very close. Cheadle Stingers, I believe, they're not playing this weekend. I thought they were. I must have got that confused with a different team. So in the next few weeks, expect to see Cheadle Stingers secure their spot in the FAWNL. In the eastern region, so we'll be going into obviously Division 1 South East. There is still plenty of games to go, but Real Bedford are 10 points clear of anybody else, and they've got 2 games in hand. So that one could be over relatively soon as well. London and South East region. So again, also going into Southeast, they've got like 7 games to go. It's Dartford currently leading that, but Fulham hot on their heels. Dulwich Hamlet are in 3rd. They're 6 points back, but with a game in hand. It's going to be one of those 3 as 4th place Ebbsfleet United too far back. And then for teams looking to go into Division 1 South West, so we're starting off with the South West Regional Women's Football League. And this one, when it decides it wants to update, this one, they only play 16 games in this one. Bristol Rovers currently top the Premier Division. They are 6 points clear of Sherborne Town, and they play Sherborne Town this weekend. So it is possible that Bristol Rovers can all but secure their promotion to the FAWNL on Sunday. If Bristol Rovers were to win that game, then they would be 9 points clear of Sherborne Town. Sherborne Town would have 3 games to go, so they could draw level, but Bristol Rovers' goal difference is already 22 clear. And that would obviously be a big ask for Sherborne Town in 3 games. They'd have to score at least 8 a game and hope that Bristol Rovers then don't. Bristol Rovers would have to lose their remaining 2 games. So to score 8 a game, so Bristol Rovers would all but secure their promotion this weekend if that game obviously goes ahead. And then finally, Southern Region Women's Football League. Ascot United currently out in front, but they are only 3 points clear of Bournemouth Sports. And Ascot United 4 games to go. Bournemouth Sports 5 games to go. So they could pull themselves level and go top if they win their game in hand because they've got the better goal difference. But that's the situation in Tier 5. As teams get promoted, I'll let you know, and we'll see who we're going to get in the FAWNL next year as well. But as always, thank you very much for watching and or listening to this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat, the show dedicated to the 3rd and 4th tiers of women's football here in England. I'll be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. with however many results actually get put on the system, because it is still absolutely true. In fact, the road outside my house is now more like a river. I haven't seen a duck yet, but that is the only animal that probably would like the situation outside at the moment, so the pitches may well not hold up either. Next Thursday then, 6 p.m, we'll be back to see who got through to the Cup and Plate finals. Fingers crossed they at least go ahead, and what the league tables look like. Thank you very much for watching and or listening to this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat, and goodbye.